What if today was your last day alive? Marcus Aurelius challenged himself and us to live every moment like it's our final breath. Are you ready to rethink your life through the eyes of a true philosopher king? Imagine this. You could leave life right now. That's what Marcus Aurelius urges us to consider. Let that thought shape everything you do, say, and even think. Life is short. So live every moment as if you were a person facing their last breath. Marcus said this with immense power. To me, Marcus Aurelius stands out as perhaps the most fascinating person to have ever lived. We often hear the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Yet Marcus is the rare exception. He wasn't born into royalty or privilege. Instead, he was chosen as a young man, at the same age as Nero, and carefully groomed for power. And here's what's remarkable. The very first thing Marcus does when he gains that power, he shares it with his brother. I've been on a long journey studying Marcus Aurelius ever since I first read Meditations. It transformed my life, and it's transformed millions over the last 2,000 years since Marcus walked the earth. I'm Ryan Holiday. I've written 12 books and have spent over a decade diving deep into the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. I've had the honor of sharing his teachings with the NBA, NFL, Special Forces, sitting senators, CEOs, and people from all walks of life. Today, I want to share with you some of my favorite lessons from the one and only philosopher king, Marcus Aurelius. If you want to understand the timeless principles and ideas that shaped this extraordinary man's life, then this video is for you. One of the stories I love most takes place during one of the darkest times in Roman history, the Antonine Plague, a devastating pandemic that claimed millions of lives. Rome's economy was in ruins. The streets were filled with death, and hopelessness hung heavy in the air. It seemed impossible for things to improve. So, what does Marcus Aurelius do? He walks through the imperial palace, not in pomp or arrogance, but with a sense of purpose. He begins marking his own possessions for sale. For 2 months, right on the emperor's lawn, he sells the jewels, robes, couches, and finery that belong to him, the emperor. He's sending a powerful message. He says, I'm not going to put myself first. I don't need these fancy things, not when my people are suffering. He says, I'm going to do the small things that I can to make a difference. Think of the CEO who takes a pay cut during an economic downturn. The athlete who renegotiates their contract so the team can bring in new talent. The leader who sacrifices comfort and personal gain to put the people first. That, right there, is what greatness truly looks like. And that's why this story about Marcus Aurelius resonates so deeply with me. Now, let me tell you this. You're not stuck. I know sometimes it feels that way. But here's what the Stoics want you to understand. Yes, one path may be closed to you, but another path is always open. Remember this. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus isn't saying that you'll never face obstacles or barriers. He's saying that when one door shuts, another window opens. You always have the chance to practice virtue, to strive for excellence, to change and adapt in some form or another. No matter what life throws at you. We cannot control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we respond. That's the heart of Stoic philosophy. So yes, a path may be blocked, a door may close, but the window? The window remains open. Sometimes, someone gets in your way. Someone blocks you. Someone tries to stop you from moving forward. Sure, that happens. But here's the truth. They can't stop you from being patient. They can't stop you from practicing forgiveness. They can't stop you from choosing a different path, changing your mind, trying something new, growing because of the challenge, and learning from it. The Stoics remind us that no one can prevent us from adapting, accommodating, and transforming the obstacles in our path into new opportunities. That, right there, is the essence of the phrase, "The obstacle is the way." You can't truly get stuck because we always have the power to choose and to change. We know what we need to do. We have the information. The real problem is actually doing it. Marcus Aurelius says it simply: you could be good today, but instead, you choose tomorrow. We keep putting things off. I'll start that diet tomorrow. I'll begin writing my novel next week. I'll clean the house later. But not today. If it were just about information, no one would be overweight. No one would struggle with health issues. Everyone would have six-pack abs. Every project would be completed. We know what to do. The problem is, we don't do it. We don't take those first steps. That's why the Stoics emphasize the discipline of action. At the end of the day, it's not about what you say. It's not about what you think. It's all about what you do. So, what action will you take? What step will you choose? That's really how progress happens, step by step. Just take the very first step. Marcus insists that no one can stop you from doing that. It takes immense self-awareness to say, "I'm feeling discomfort because of this," or "I'm feeling anxious because of that." I discovered something similar during the pandemic. Suddenly, I wasn't rushing to catch flights. I wasn't stuck in traffic. I wasn't juggling endless preparations. You'd think my anxiety would vanish, that I'd have far less to worry about. But the opposite happened. You realize anxiety isn't about any of those external things at all. Marcus Aurelius touches on this in Meditations. He writes, "I escaped anxiety," and then corrects himself. No, actually, I discarded it. And remember, he wrote this during a deadly plague. He explains, "I discarded it because it was within me." That was a profound breakthrough. I had a similar moment myself. I thought my stress, anxiety, and worry were caused by all these perfectly reasonable life pressures: work, family, responsibilities. But when you strip all of that away, you realize it's you. And by the way, Marcus Aurelius has a better morning routine than you. I promise. Marcus gets up early, whether he feels like it or not. He doesn't have to, but he forces himself out of bed every morning. He asks himself, and us, this powerful question: were you made to lie here under the covers, keeping warm? Or were you meant to rise and do the work of a human being? So, he rises early and immediately gets to work. And what is the very first thing he does? He sits down with his journal. Meditations has survived through the centuries because it contains the private, intimate thoughts of perhaps the most powerful man in the world. Marcus wrote these reflections not to boast, but because they helped him grow, helped him become better every day. After this moment of reflection, what did he do next? He tackled the most important task of his day. He urged himself to concentrate like a Roman, to do this as if it's the last thing you'll ever do. That was Marcus Aurelius's way. His morning routine wasn't random or casual. It was deliberate. He knew the truth behind the old saying, "Well begun is half done." And you should treat your mornings the same way. Start your day with intention, with a routine that lets you take ownership of the hours ahead. This is what we call self-discipline. Nobody else signed up for it, you did. Your learning, your study, your self-improvement, it's all your responsibility. Make sure you're applying it to yourself, not others. Marcus famously said, "Be tolerant with others, but strict with yourself. The goal here is simple: to make you the master of yourself. This isn't about becoming condescending, patronizing, or trying to control others. Self-discipline means discipline over yourself. You let other people have their mistakes, their ways of doing things. That's on them. Marcus really didn't have much patience for people. If you read Meditations, you'll see it clearly. He opens with reflections on how frustrating, annoying, even obnoxious other people can be. Even the famous phrase, "the obstacle is the way," is Marcus talking about people, about how they get in our way, how they present obstacles to our progress. But here's the kicker. Within that obstacle, within those people, lies an opportunity. An opportunity to actually practice the philosophy you claim to believe in. To be good, even when others are difficult. To be just, even when faced with injustice. To be temperate, even when others show intemperance. To be courageous when everyone else is cowering, and to be rewarded for it. For the Stoics, people can be frustrating. People are obstacles. But like all obstacles, they're also the way. They're a challenge to rise to. A test that can make us stronger and better by wrestling with other people's difficulties. So don't resent the people who frustrate you. Use them as a tool for your growth. You're busy. I'm busy. But how much of what we're busy with actually matters? Marcus urges us to ask ourselves, with everything we do and say, is this essential? Because, honestly, most of what we do and say isn't essential, and he's absolutely right. Most of what we do isn't really our own choice. It's because someone asked us to do it, or someone told us to do it, or simply because that's how it's always been done. But stop and ask yourself, do we really need to do all of that? If you suddenly found out you only had one day left to live, would you keep doing these things? Would you do them the way you're doing them now? Chances are, the answer is a clear and resounding no. This is why Marcus Aurelius teaches us to ask ourselves one simple but powerful question: is this essential? When you begin filtering your actions through this lens, you start eliminating so much of what clutters your life, the things you don't actually need to be doing. And here's the beautiful part. When you focus only on what's truly essential, you get the double benefit of doing fewer things, but doing them better. That's why this question, is this essential? Do I really need to do this? Am I doing it the right way? Should become a constant companion to every decision you make. Every word you say, and even every thought you entertain. Now, let's dive into 3 timeless lessons from Stoic philosophy that can transform how you live right now. Number 1. Amor fati, the love of fate. It didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. Fate has chosen this moment, this challenge, this path for you. Accept it, embrace it, bear it with strength, and, most importantly, make something meaningful out of it. Marcus Aurelius beautifully compares this to fire. It turns everything it touches into fuel and light. That's amor fati, transforming hardship into power and brilliance. Number 2. It's about what you do for others. Marcus reminds us that the true fruit of life is good character and actions that serve the common good. The Stoics weren't pursuing this philosophy to become better sociopaths, to chase money, or to seek fame for themselves. No, their focus was on contribution. So ask yourself, do you contribute to your community? To your country? Are you helping move the ball forward for humanity? Number 3. This lesson puts everything into perspective. Memento mori. Remember that you could leave this life at any moment. As Marcus so powerfully urges, let that thought guide what you do, say, and think. Life is fleeting. Do everything as if you were a person living your final day, full of intention. presence, and urgency. Marcus reminds us that life is fragile. The recent pandemic made that painfully clear. So live while you still can. Seize the day. Carpe diem. These are 3 profound lessons from Stoicism that you can start applying right now. Today, join the community and start living with purpose at the Stoic journey.